Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the Luke and Alex Comicast, where each week we take a look at a different comic arc or graphic novel. Last episode, Alex picked Fantastic Four Volume 1 by Jonathan Hickman, and this week I chose Alan Moore's Batman the Killing Joke. So, Alex, I know you are a big fan of The Killing Joke.
Yeah, it doesn't get old, man. Even reading it this time after, I don't even know how many times I've read it. A lot of times, but it's an amazing Batman story and just comic book in general.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And I think, considering I know this is your favorite Batman story, I figured I would let you kind of start it with your kind of thoughts, anything you wanted to bring up first, and we can kind of go from there.
Yeah. So just like the very general impressions, reading this again after a bunch of times. Well, I mean, I read it fairly recently, like before this. I think I even read it like a few months ago, but I love it every time. And I was trying to pinpoint exactly what I love about it. And a big thing is just, like, of course, the art is amazing. The opening scene is like never gets old for me. Like
Oh, it's so
with
yeah,
Batman going into the asylum, it's
yeah,
like I realized that my favorite parts on reading this. Like the first time I read it, I loved all the shocker stuff, right? We'll get to it later, but what Joker does to Barbara, to
yeah,
Jim, all that stuff. That stuff really got me the first time when I first read it, and I remember just being like, "Oh my god, this is crazy! The Joker's gone to he's pushing the limits, whatever." But when rereading it after like many times, the parts that I really enjoy aren't like those parts because they're not like a shocker anymore. I've read them so many times. The parts I enjoy are like the Batman and Joker stuff, like the Batman and Barbara moments. Like just like I really like the Batman stuff even more so than that's not. I mean, I love the Joker stuff, but like
yeah.
Batman in this too, like and his just relationship to the Joker. That was the stuff that I liked the most. I liked the beginning when he's talking to him in the asylum. I love the end when they're having their kind of like final showdown. It's kind of ambiguous if it's the final showdown or not. I'm sure we'll get to that, but
Yeah, yeah,
um,
we're gonna get
God,
back to that.
I love the Batman and Joker interactions.
I
That
love
was
them
what stood
too.
out to me as my favorite.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that you brought up was the art, and I think that was
Beautiful.
one of the things that I kind of took a note on, and I thought we could talk about it because I thought it was interesting. Is that if um, so as you know, and as viewers who have seen past episodes know, Batman Year One is my personal favorite Batman
Yes.
story. So I think that one of the things that was kind of going on through my mind was kind of comparing and contrasting the two styles between Moore and Mazzucchelli, or sorry, of Miller and Mazzucchelli, and
Yes.
Moore and Brian Boland. Um, and one of the things that I kind of picked up on, and I don't know if you agree, disagree, or feel have maybe a different opinion, is that I feel like Boland's art is simultaneously more realistic, but also like somewhat it kind of in some way I guess more like fantastical, or more like I felt kind of
Mhm.
aware that
That's art.
yeah, I guess the best way I could describe it kind of gives me like an uncanny valley feeling at times, because
Ah.
the depictions and rendering of characters, I mean, if you look at Boland's Batman, for instance, compare it to Mazzucchelli, they're very different styles.
100%.
Boland's Batman looks much more human, much more realistic. Um, but then you get stuff like the Joker, and you get the big wide smile.
Mm.
That is basically like that's like wrapping his entire face. And it gives a really eerie, kind of creepy feeling inside, at least for me. And I don't know if you've kind of felt the same way, or
So I totally see what you're saying. It's like Boland's art is trying more so than Mazzucchelli's to simulate reality. That's why you're saying you're getting the uncanny valley like feel, because it's like, when it comes down to it, it's still art. It's not a photograph, so it's going to, no matter how close you get to reality, it's not going to be like reality. I don't know. I guess that's not necessarily true, but it's not to the point where it's like photorealism, but it's also like very much trying to be more realistic. Like I see what you're saying. It's not like Year One where it's, that's very, maybe it's the word stylized. Like it's very much art. Like I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly.
No, I agree. I think, like, for me, when it comes to Mazzucchelli and what he is really a master of, is that, like, I feel like his art, I would say it's kind of a minimalistic, you could say, I guess, like, older style, but I feel like it works so well because what it does is it kind of, like, engrosses you into the world, and you kind of just get, like, thrown into this world that Miller creates. Where I think with Boland, it almost feels like, it kind of feels more, at least to me, that like you're kind of detached a little bit more from the art and from the story as a whole. Almost like, sorry, like with Moore, it's kind of like you're kind of more keenly aware that you're kind of reading a comic, and that like he's manipulating elements on the page to convey certain emotions and feelings within you as a reader. And I feel like that was kind of going through my mind more so when I was reading it. Whereas with like Year One, I was kind of thinking about that stuff less, and I was more just like going from panel to panel and kind of in the story.
I see what you're saying. Like you think Moore's in particular is using more, I guess, elements of like the medium in order to, like you say, like manipulate, kind of like do certain things. I don't know, because I see what you're saying, and I think in other Moore works this is like also true, like in Watchmen and stuff. Like I think about like the way he uses the text, the way he uses the way the whole art team, I guess, uses like color and all these different things. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. I think like one of the examples that I was kind of thinking of is like you'll see it at like Moore has it multiple times where it's like they'll for those who don't know too, when it comes for the Killing Joke, so it's basically told as essentially two kind of stories. One that's like the present day kind of Batman Joker story, and then the other one that's kind of the flashbacks to Joker's possible past, which we can talk about too. But the idea that, and they're kind of interwoven throughout the story. So one of the things that like I was kind of picking up on was that like, for instance, like something will happen in the present, and then you'll have like the exact same panel in the flashback, like, but obviously different, that like, but it's like the actual image itself is basically the exact same, and that like that's the kind of thing that like I look at that and it makes me very keenly aware that I'm reading a comic, and that like these are elements that Moore's using.
That's interesting that you bring that up, and I noticed that again, like in a lot of Moore stuff, he does use elements like that, which actually is very cinematic, like
yes,
that kind of transition, very cinematic. And I can see how that might take you out of it. I don't know. For me, like I didn't have the problem where it felt like, I felt like it was, I guess, taking me out of the story. It is very like stylistic, if that's the word. I don't know. It worked for me. It works for me, and it's like this whole comic is just like beautiful in that way, that it's like he does all these things like those transitions, and like just the circular nature of like Batman's dialogue with Joker, like, which I'm sure we'll get to later, but how like he repeats stuff throughout the comic. These things just make it so beautiful. But I can see how you can become very aware that these things are happening, and that almost like might take you out of the world.
Well, I mean, for me personally, I don't even mean this in terms of like a sense of like as a criticism. I mean it more in like because
Just
I
a
think that
differentiation.
yeah, because I think like I would say like again like with Miller, I think I was thinking less about the story afterwards. You know, when it comes to more though, like when things happen, I'm kind of constantly thinking about them and thinking about what does this mean kind of to both the story itself and also to like the world, and like what is more kind of saying about society and people in general, you know.
No, more stuff is his stuff is not like, you know, like light reading, I guess. Like it's not hard to read, but there's a lot of complexity to his stories, and I can see what you're saying. Like you think a lot about it while you're reading it, after you're reading it, and like reading it multiple times. Like I've read this many times. I still feel like I'm noticing things and thinking about things I hadn't thought about before.
Yeah. And speaking of that, like talking about kind of the difficulty of reading, I also kind of noticed, and I don't know how I didn't realize it, but like reading it again this time, there's no monologue like at all for any characters. Like you get the flashbacks, but even still the flashbacks, all the stuff you hear from Joker is spoken. You don't actually get any into the minds of any characters like with Miller, where you get both Gordon and Bruce. You know, you just get monologue upon monologue.
Yes.
And I thought that was really interesting because
cinematic, right?
Yeah, it's very cinematic, and it felt much more. It felt like Moore was almost intentionally trying to kind of be shrewd when it came to his use of words on panel, like in panels and on pages. Like a lot of pages just were very light on dialogue or even like sound effects. You know, it really felt like he kind of wanted to let the imagery a lot of times capture the feelings and emotions of what was going on.
I particularly like that about The Killing Joke, is that you do have pages of relative silence, and I feel like it really breaks up, you know, like a lot of like the dialogue, and also just gives a certain like tone, like a certain mood. Like the pages where Batman's going around like looking for the Joker, and it's just like this no text. It just shows him like, you know, interrogating all these people and stuff. I mean, I love that. I love that.
And I think we can also kind of look at it like to compare it to a different writer who I know you also like, looking at like Bendis, for instance. I think you can see a massive difference in kind of the way that Moore kind of chooses to frame the comic and kind of use dialogue and just kind of words in general. Like for instance, with Bendis, like he'll include stuff that seems kind of almost unnecessary to kind of create like an extra layer, I guess, of like realism and kind of feeling like.
Oh wait, are you talking about Bendis or Vaughn?
I'm talking about Bendis.
I think you said, did you say Vaughn initially, or am I going crazy? I don't know. I thought you said Vaughn.
If I said Vaughn, I meant
Bendis.
Bendis.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm talking about Bendis.
But
I'm talking about Bendis.
Okay.
Yeah, but
yeah,
like to look at how to look at that with Bendis, where you know I feel like he makes sure to kind of include extra dialogue and extra kind of words on the page, and then I feel like with Moore, it's like, and we're getting to it now. You know, we have this stunning and I think probably one of the most iconic pages in comic history when Joker shoots Barbara. There are no sound effects. There's no words spoken on the page. It's just the images. you know.
Oh, it's so frightening. Like I don't know. It's just like it's such a terrible scene. Like with the silence makes it like even worse. You know, you really pay attention to like Barbara's face and like
Yeah.
it's
And I think it works too, because at least to me, it felt almost like it kind of felt like a movie sequence where you know how they do it, where it's like if someone like gets shot or something crazy happens, where like the sound cuts out, or you'll
yes.
just hear that like you'll have like that whine in the background, like it gave me that kind of feeling where it's just like it almost felt like it happened in like slow motion, even though obviously you can't really convey that in a comic book.
I see. I know what you're saying. You know what I'm thinking right now as we're talking about this. Like, I mean, this feels like a very cinematic comic, yet, ironically, the movie adaptation did not work, which
Yeah.
I always attributed to the fact that this was something a comic that was meant to be a comic. But like as we talk about it, it's like it really is very cinematic. I don't.
Yeah.
I can see it working well as a movie, yet it didn't.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, I think the biggest thing was that like actually, yeah, I think what happened was essentially that I think that the Killing Joke would have worked really well if they had made it like an hour or like a 45-minute to an hour thing, and that's problematic
Yes.
because like people don't. That's it's not
Can't sell
really an
that,
episode.
right?
It's not really an episode, but it's not a movie because that's the thing. This is a pretty short like graphic novel overall. It's only like
Yes.
50 something pages, but
Very
it
short.
feels much it feels bigger than that just because there's so much in it, I think, to unfold, and there's so much complexity to it. And speaking of that complexity, one of the things I wanted to look at was that I kind of felt like overall this was a very vulnerable Batman and Joker. I guess like just everybody, like everybody in this comic like just feels very vulnerable,
Yes. Yes.
And I felt like it's almost, it really is like who's keeping their sanity, who's not, like
Who is
and
sane? Like
even
is Batman sane?
yeah, and that's I think what was interesting to me was that like, and as we kind of go into and I think we can talk about the flashbacks of Joker, is that I think you get a portrayal of a Joker who is, I mean, he was a human, and he wasn't always just this, the clown prince of crime who was, who was absolutely psychotic. He had a pregnant wife, or was it a girlfriend? I don't remember. I don't remember.
Well, I believe it was wife. It was wife.
Wife, yeah.
Speaking of that before we like keep talking about those flashbacks as if they are 100% real, I think we should definitely address like the idea that's one of his, it could be one of his potential flashbacks, because he says the whole thing about if I'm gonna have a pass, I prefer it to be multiple choice, which people take as more kind of saying, oh, this isn't definitely Joker's origin, this is a possible Joker origin, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's actually really interesting the way he does that. And I think in general, like, because this is such a tight story, some of the impact to me, I think, comes from like this idea of like omissions and what isn't on the page, and I think he leaves a lot of stuff to kind of make the reader have to fill in for themselves or decide like, what kind of happened in between the pages, that we don't see. So is this the real joke? I'm going to kind of talk about it under the assumption that this is kind of the story, at least for Moore's Joker. But again, like, you have to question, is this actually what happened? Or also, like, when it comes to the details of what happened to Barbara, because you kind of know, I mean, with both Barbara and Commissioner Gordon, like, you end up later on, like, they kind of show that Barbara was effective, like, she was stripped naked, and then Joker, like, took photographs of her, and then I think it's like one of those things where you have to ask, like, what
like
is
the
that,
question of
like,
was she raped or anything like that?
yeah. Or like, I also, I mean, I know some people also mentioned, like, with Commissioner Gordon, like, he was stripped naked, and some people have like, I was reading, some people made the
like,
argument that, like,
why?
was he raped, and I think, it's a real question that you have to ask yourself, because you have to basically, like, put yourself into the minds of all the characters and say, like, what would they be doing,
There's a lot of ambiguity. It's very strange, the Commissioner Gordon being stripped naked thing. I do wonder, like, what are your thoughts about that, and, like, as to, like, the reasons why that happens. Like, there's the idea that he's raped. I don't know how much I necessarily think that's true. I don't really know, but do you have any thoughts about that just generally?
I do, actually, yeah. So I kind of
I
thought about it
Yeah, tell me,
for a
please.
little bit. I also don't think that he was raped. But what I think at least to me, what I felt like it was I think a symbol that, like, Joker was trying to, is kind of saying, like, by symbolically removing his clothing, it's kind of like he's exposed, like, literally
Yeah,
exposed, and he can't kind of, um, and I think that the
can't, like,
whole,
hide, right?
yeah, he can't hide, and that he can't kind of, and I think that's kind of what throughout this story, what I think, what Joker's kind of trying to do is trying to be like, you know, anybody could be like me, it just takes one bad day, and it's almost like he's trying to be like, everybody, like, everyone's kind of living, like, trying to cover up the fact that, like, anybody can turn out like me,
Yeah,
and I think that's, at least to me, that's what I took it to be as. I don't
I
know
see.
what your thoughts on that were, but that's what I got.
Yeah, I don't, I really don't know. I think that's a very good, um, like, that's a very good idea. I think as to, like, why this happens. Uh, I'd say something along those lines. I think, like, he's obviously being forced to face these terrible images of his daughter stripped and shot, and I think him being, stripped naked, kind of chained to this weird carnival ride, um, is, yeah, it's just forcing him to face this terrible thing, in literally the most vulnerable way, and completely naked. It's
Yeah,
a little weird. There's something, like, strangely also, like sexual about it, which is, like, weird to me. Like, there's like this, it's also, like, at the same time, it's like not sexual. Like, it's his daughter, right? And she's, like,
yeah,
bleeding and, like, in pain. Yeah, he's looking at these naked photos of his daughter while being naked. Something about
yeah,
that's, like, strange, and I think there's also something that has some kind of significance too. It's like the Joker's, like, forcing him in this, on top of just, like, the horror of having to see this. He's putting him in this, like, really strange position that's probably, like, also supposed to contribute to whatever he's trying to break him or whatever.
hmm yeah. I definitely see that. I think, um, and again, I think this is just an example where, like, more really leaves it up to interpretation, and I think he kind of lets the reader, have to kind of think for themselves, really, and kind of make a judgment on, taking the images that you get and then kind of converting them into meaning,
Yes.
which I think is just really well done. And I kind of made a note too, like, specifically from that sequence, where Gordon is basically strapped into this, amusement park ride of, horror.
Yeah.
And like I basically wrote like this, honestly, like even though the Killing Joke is a superhero comic, honestly it felt more like a horror comic to me than a superhero one. Like if you like removed Batman, this would just basically be like a horror comic, I felt.
I mean, I think the Joker as a character is one of the more horror like villains. I mean, he's even physically, he's just very creepy looking. He's like this killer clown kind of, and I think it makes sense that his ultimate storyline is very horror-esque.
Yeah, and then you got the horrifying mountain of dolls.
Ooh, so creepy! It's so many creepy images in this.
Huh.
It's just such a creepy, like the whole carnival scene is very, very creepy. All these like these freak show people. Those little guys who like.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know what they are.
That was just interesting to me because like it was like they just appeared. I mean, like I know they kind of showed, like they kind of had like the poster of the fat lady, in a previous panel, but like they were just there. I was like, what?
I mean, Joker does say when he's talking to that guy who he's buying the carnival from, he says, he says he's like, well, I must dash. There's equipment to hire, plus workers who suit the general tone of the establishment. So I guess he goes off and hires all these weird freak shows. Don't know where he gets them from, but he does allude to. He finds them all right.
That was also something I found kind of just interesting. Was that like when like so when Joker ends up shooting Barbara, he's not alone. He just has like a thug just like with him, but he's not like a Joker thug. He's just like a regular like just thug dude, like
regular guys.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I didn't know the Joker was employing just like regular like thugs
dudes.
Yeah, just friend dude.
It is interesting as to like how Joker gets all this all these resources. He must be like off camera where he must be robbing some banks or something. I don't know where he's getting the funds for all this.
Actually, that just made me think of something really interesting. So yeah, like Joker mentions too, like, oh, like money isn't an issue anymore. That's kind of interesting to me now that I think about it, because like the whole kind of crux of how Joker kind of ends up getting involved into the criminal world and ends up becoming Red Hood is because he can't. Is because of money. I think that's kind of really interesting, actually. That like, and I don't know if that was an intentional commentary on Moore's part. I imagine it is because it's Alan Moore and he thinks about these kinds of things.
I'm sure he's thought through everything. I mean, even you mentioning that, right? Like, it's crazy. It's crazy how many things like you don't pick up, like no matter how many times you read this, because even that like the whole money is not a concern now. I hadn't even connected that to his past, because
I didn't think of it either until after you mentioned it.
It does come before the flashbacks. So if you're a first time reader, you're gonna have to make that connection. You're gonna have to make that connection in like retrospect, because I believe he says well, he says it right before the flashback. He says that anyway, money isn't really a problem, and then we go into the whole flashback about money.
Where money is very much a problem.
So I wonder, it's like he's let go of so many things along with his sanity, and I guess one of those is his concern for money. As to how that's realistically possible, I don't know if we're supposed to think about that, but I don't know.
So I think we're kind of getting pretty much down to the later parts here. So I think
it's a lot.
We can kind of go through Batman once he arrives onto the scene, and his interaction with Jim. I thought it was
it's a good moment.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting to me because particularly with Jim kind of really like hammering down the point, like, do it by the books. Because I thought that, like, I think overall, like, Moore kind of had a very specific image of what he wanted for Jim Gordon in this. And kind of the idea that, like, this is a Jim that, you know, even though, like, he's basically been exposed to all this depravity and, you know, and madness, that he still kept his sanity.
Yeah.
I just thought it was, like, kind of funny that, like, it was Jim saying, you know, do it by the books, considering, like, I mean, we read, like, year one, and I would say that, you know, Gordon goes off the books quite a bit in that.
You know, now that you're mentioning this, I do wonder if this is supposed to, if Moore is commenting more on Jim's strength or on Joker's weakness, and I would argue that he's commenting, like, it's more supposed to emphasize Joker's weakness. You know, that what happens to him causes him to turn into this, you know, this terrible person, whereas the normal person who is Jim Gordon is supposed to represent doesn't snap, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's supposed to say that Jim's any stronger than anyone. It's supposed to say that normal people don't go crazy and become psycho murdering clowns or whatever.
No, I think now that we're on that, I think we can kind of look at the interaction as, so Batman and Jim kind of talk it out, and Batman goes in, and then Batman proceeds to beat the crap out of Joker, and I think
Joker gets a few blows in too. The wood beam across the head. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, and I know you said, like, this, I feel like, is an action scene that was well deserved, you know, because I think it was built up much better.
Incredible.
Yeah. And
the dialogue's great too.
Yeah. And that was one of the things I kind of wanted to look at was, like, overall, like, I feel like the sanity of this Batman is very interesting. Like, I honestly don't, you know, and I mean, Joker even comments on it, saying how, like, something had to happen in your past, you know, to be dressed up like a, you know, like a giant rat, he says.
Oh man, yeah, no, this Batman, yeah, you're bringing up an interesting point here, because, like, what happens at the end? Like, we're gonna get to that. I feel like there are so many things we kind of went over that I almost want to go back to before we end this episode, because
if you want, I mean,
if you kind of quickly, we came to the end kind of quickly, but like I now I'm here. I'm too excited. Oh yeah, we have to talk about what actually happens at the end, as far as, like, what Batman actually does to Joker, because Gordon says do it by the books, right? And Batman tells Joker, I'm gonna do this by the books. Yeah. So he's not gonna hurt him. It seems. Yeah. But as much as I can try to convince myself that, because I've always been convinced that Batman kills the Joker. I'm just gonna say it. Like, to me, it just made sense.
In this story, Ellie? Yeah.
In this story. I believe that he kills the Joker, and I was trying to see the other side of it, and I always try to see both sides of it, because it's like, it really is ambiguous. And he says, he's, like I just said, he says he's going to do it by the books, but he tries, I think. And then I think he considers it impossible. That's what the whole conversation is at the end, where he offers Joker help. And then Joker's kind of like, no, like, this is, like, it's too late for me. He gives this whole, the joke, the final joke, the killing joke, right? Where he's like, these two guys, he talks about the flash, he puts the flashlight on the beam and turns it off halfway, whatever. It's supposed to be like Batman not following through on his word. And I think Batman at that moment kind of realizes, oh, okay, it's hopeless, right? I tried to give him a chance, and I can't do it by the books. He gives, and I mean, I feel like the title says it, the killing joke, right? Like,
yeah,
that's the killing joke. He tells a joke, he kills Joker. I don't know. Do you have thoughts about that?
You know, I think I can definitely see it. I think part of it is, again, like I think with Moore's portrayal, and I guess we can talk about it too. So because we didn't mention it, and this is on me, is that there is basically a speech that Batman gives at the beginning that he then
Yes,
kind of
yes.
repeats.
I shouldn't mention that. Yes.
Yeah. So
we're gonna kill each other, aren't we?
Yeah. Batman basically says, we're gonna kill each other. Perhaps you'll kill me, perhaps I'll kill you, perhaps sooner, perhaps later. And he basically says, like, he wants to make an attempt to talk things over and avert the outcome. And then you see that he's talking to a fake Joker, which I still, so that I kind of didn't know, and I don't know if I missed something. Do we know how Joker even pulled that off with the fake Joker, or is that kind of just a?
Oh my gosh, you're bringing that up. That always confused me.
Yeah. How did that even happen?
What is going on there?
Yeah.
I just like I don't really understand. I never really like understood exactly what was going on, because like there's this Joker that he's talking to, but then like Joker's out like doing so. I don't know. That's always confused me. I kind of like looked it up like a lot of times. I can never really figure out any kind of answers, like what's going on there. Is it supposed to be in like a different time? Like that's what I was thinking. I don't know. Like, is it definitely a fake Joker? Like, I don't really understand.
Yeah. I mean, at least to me, in my head, I kind of thought it out as like, Joker maybe threatened someone and was like, if you don't do this exactly as I say, like, I'll just kill you, or I'll kill someone like close to you. But again, I never really thought of it, the idea that it could be like an alternate universe or something, but
I don't know. No, I mean it's definitely like some kind of like stand-in, it seems like. But it confused me. Man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing where it's like the idea of like, the information that like the information you're kind of given as the reader is, you have to kind of make an educated guess,
Yeah.
But did you have something?
No. Yeah, no, that's I have you brought that up because it confused me. And the first honestly, like when I originally read this, like I just kind of like assumed that this was like Joker in like some different like time and place, but that like really doesn't make any sense now that I think about it. And like,
because I think he's
asking where's Joker, right? Yes.
Yeah, so
where is he? He's asking where Joker is, and for
Yeah.
some reason, when I first read it, like I just like it didn't make sense to me logically. So I kind of just filled in the gaps of thinking this is like some other time and place where he's asking Joker where someone is, and it like doesn't really connect to anything. But that doesn't really make any sense, because this is at the same time as Joker's at the carnival, purchasing this place from this guy, and also that that fake Joker doesn't really act like Joker. It seems like he's like
I mean he's
way scared. He's scared.
Yeah.
He's just this like terrified, like wimpy guy. So yeah.
I mean, you can see it too. Like Batman flips out once he finds out that it's if we're gonna assume that it's a fake Joker and that like Joker somehow set this guy up. Like, I mean, the face of Batman, like this is a Batman who is very close to the he's on like that brink, between sanity and insanity. And I think like that's something that's so interesting. I think you can say the same thing for Joker, is that this is a Joker, I think, who is much more connected to his own sanity and realizing the fact that like he is insane, and that like there's been circumstances that have created who he is, and I think I want like comparing it to maybe like the Dark Knight Joker, for instance. I feel like that Joker is much more like that Joker feels much more like an agent of chaos. It's almost like unhuman in some ways, that like, and it's almost like scary. Like he feels more like almost like a demon than a human, that like he's just this absolute, just evil, chaotic entity.
Where you're saying Joker, the one in Dark Knight, right?
Yeah.
Wait, do you mean Dark Knight Returns or you mean the Dark Knight comic or movie?
I mean the movie.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. That Joker's like also in some ways feels kind of human because of the fact that he's like this guy with like he has makeup and stuff and he's not like actually like this.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like he's kind of like this like weird like military anarchist Joker.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I mean, I just think it's really maybe that wasn't the best example, but I think you understand. There are examples I think where like maybe like you could actually probably Injustice Joker would probably be the better example. That it's just like that Joker is basically just there to be like like an agent of chaos and evil. Like there's not really he doesn't really have like any semblance I feel like of like
of humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a very human Joker. Like
this is the Joker that's like
he's hurt.
Yeah, he's hurt. He's insane, but he's not detached from reality. Like he's keenly aware of reality, and that's I think what makes it so interesting. That like he's not just doing it to do it and to be chaotic and be evil. He's doing it to kind of prove a point, which is that anybody can turn out like me.
Yes.
And I think you have a Batman that I really don't know what to make of this Batman. It's a very
he's an interesting one.
Because I don't think, again, part of it I think is that you don't get any monologue from him, so you don't really get into his thoughts. You just see his actions and I don't know, it's weird. Like, I mean, one of the things that struck as being weird to me, like, first thing, after Barbara gets shot and Batman goes to see Barbara, he just says he's Bruce. And I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, he's trying to, I don't know, he's trying to like, be there for Barbara, I guess. And like, of course she knows him as Bruce. He's, I don't know, what confused you about that?
Well, it just seems, I mean, if you think about it, like just Batman I mean, I don't really remember, do we know if in this world, so Barbara's already Batgirl in this universe?
Because I believe so, yes, because the whole point is that her getting crippled here turns her into Oracle. We should mention that because we talked about the possibility of Joker killing, Batman killing Joker. And technically he doesn't, okay, because they add this to the canon, and that's how Barbara becomes Oracle, goes from Batgirl to Oracle, and like it's part of the canon, so Joker obviously is not killed, but that's honestly, not Moore's intention.
Yeah, like, honestly, I don't.
To be standalone.
Yes, I do not look at yes, you can look at it as part of the canon. Personally, and this is just me, I look at it, I take like parts of it as like Barbara turning into Oracle because she got shot by a Joker is, yes, it's part of the canon, but like I almost imagine that it happened a different way in the canon universe than it happened here, and I'm almost like, because it just, this universe I feel like should really be able to stand alone because it's a different story being told. Again, like because you don't have like Nightwing or Robin in this world that we know of, like. We just have Joker, Batman, Commissioner Gordon, Barbara, like.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, it just, overall, like, it just felt like this Batman something felt weird about him,
he feels very like detached from like the story. Like I don't know, like you're saying, we don't get in his head much. You know, we don't really. It feels. Say you've never read a Batman comic in your life, and you read this one. I feel like you know more about the Joker. You know the Joker more intimately than you know Batman. Like, isn't that pretty?
You
That's
really
pretty
don't
obvious.
get much. I mean, and now that I think, I mean, we do get one time where we really get to see into Batman, and that's when we get like a brief thing of the Batcave itself. I'm trying to see if I can find it.
Yes. With Alfred. And
yeah, because that Batcave is weird. It's a very.
I love that Batcave.
But that's the thing. It felt weird to me because this is such a like. I mean, we see he has literally a picture frame of like Silver Age Batman with like.
Oh my god, with Batmite and stuff.
Yeah, like, and then we see like the dinosaur in the cave. So like, what is this Batman? Like,
dude, I love this Batcave with a million like weird sized monitors, which, if I'm not mistaken, that's kind of how they did in like the Michael Keaton Batman movie with all like the many like weird small screens.
Yeah.
It's just like, I know you're saying it's such a weird Batcave. It has all the classics like the Penny and the dinosaur and the and that weird picture with like the classic like Batwoman and Ace the Bat Hound.
Yeah,
like, and I don't know. It's like out of time, right? Like it's like out of time. It feels
that's what,
like.
I mean, I don't know if like, like I don't know. Do you take that as being just like a joke, or do you really think like this is the idea? Like this Batman actually went through this phase in his Bat career, and now he's turned into this kind of dark, brooding Batman. Because like, I don't know. It's just weird.
I don't know, dude. That's an interesting idea to consider. Like this is like the Moore's Batman is like this ultimate Batman who's like lived for all these years, yet like somehow remains the same.
Yeah, and he somehow feels like almost more vulnerable as a Batman. Like, I mean, you even see it like one of the, and I thought was interesting is like Joker like pulls down the cowl, and literally Batman like spends the time to put the cowl back on and lets Joker hit him with the beam, like a wooden beam. Like,
gosh, yeah.
It's a very strange Batman, and honestly, I can see it that this Batman would kill Joker, because I honestly think this Batman is not connected with sanity. I don't think he's sane.
Oh, that's very probable. Joker's on something when he says that you're a nut.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. I think it really is a case where like this Batman is like, I don't think this Batman and Joker are that far apart. It's just that like what pushed Batman over the edge happened to align him with good, whereas what happened to Joker pushed him over the edge, made him turn bad. Because I don't. Yeah. And I guess maybe you could argue that what Batman is doing, at least this Batman, may not even be particularly like on the side of good, and more just on the side of like Batman and the idea of like wanting to deliver justice.
What does this Batman like? Say this Batman does kill Joker. Like what have we seen from him in this story? We see the flashback sequence where he actually kind of creates the Joker.
Yeah,
like he freaks out the Red Hood so much that he jumps over, and then so he's kind of responsible for the Joker. Then he has to kind of clean up his own mess by murdering him. Maybe he's not the best Batman.
Yeah, it's just very interesting to me.
He's a strange Batman.
Yeah.
Also, I was gonna ask which edition of the Killing Joke, because I'm meaning to ask this. Are you reading the deluxe edition?
Yeah, I read the recoloring. I read with the recoloring. Yes.
Okay, me too. I wanted to make sure, because like I don't know. I don't know if you've read have you read the like original coloring?
Yeah, I read the original, and it's much more psychedelic looking. That's like the big.
It's very strange. I don't think it's very fitting. Oh, that was the first time I read it too.
If I'm not mistaken, like the artist didn't like the first. Like that's why they changed. Like I'm pretty sure Yeah, the new one is, I think, was because he wanted to change. Like he felt like they tried to make it more like trippy and psychedelic. Well, that's not the story that's being told. This is not like that's not what they're going for with this Batman. And
Here's
McNeil's the
what I
leader.
think. I think it might mention this in like the like bonus content, but like I don't know because I didn't read it this time. But I remember hearing something about how like it was kind of like a mistake that they colored it the way that they did the first time. Like it was like they were kind of rushing to get it out or something like that,
Yeah.
and they had to have somebody else like somebody fill in and like color it like last minute or something, and it ended up like not being the best coloring job. And I believe this recoloring is done by Brian Bolland himself, so
Yeah.
it's probably more true to the art.
Yeah. And I must say, like, I mean, we did briefly mention, but yeah, like his art is amazing in this. I
love
mean, he really nails it. And I think he really does a great job too of just encapsulating, like, I mean, yes, a lot of the idea of this vulnerability is done through Moore's dialogue, but also just like the art in general. And if you look at like the eyes of characters, you look at the facial expressions, like
they're amazing.
You get so much emotion and character from them that it's like you can almost think like what they're what they're actually saying in their head just through the art itself.
Yeah, we don't even need the captions because like you look into Barbara's face, you can feel her fear, you can see the fear on Gordon's face too, and the like insanity. There's just madness of Joker. Like I'm looking at when he's talking to Jim at the carnival. It's like, oh, his eyes, dude, they're so crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy, amazing how he captures this.
Yeah, and I'm looking too at like at the end where Batman kind of tries to like offer to reconcile with Joker, and you just see like the face that Joker makes is like, it's a pure mix of anger and really it looks like sadness. And it's like it's almost like he knows that he's gone. Like he can't, and it's like he's too far gone to really redeem himself in his own eyes.
Oh my god, yeah, and now you're, sorry, you finish. You finish.
No, that's all. I mean, I don't know if you're at that. I just look at it. It's almost like giving me chills.
I am on that like section. I'm on the section where he's holding up the gun and like it's like it's a blanket, the click, right?
Yeah.
And right as he holds up the gun, like look at his face, like look how much is conveyed just in that expression. Like he's like has this like almost smile, but he's so desperate and insane looking, and also so like there's like a hint of fear behind his like look. Like he's like this is like his. I don't even know how to describe it. Like there's just so much in that expression right there.
Yeah. And then after
amazing.
Yeah, and after he like it goes click, which is great. But like you just
so
look
good.
And you see like the face of Joker afterwards. It's like it looks so human. Like he just looks like
despondent. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like he literally says like, well, what are you waiting for? Like I shot a defenseless girl, I terrorized an old man. He's just like he just looks like defeated.
Yeah, especially that's after the news comes that he didn't actually break Gordon. He didn't achieve his goal. So it's like, yeah, he's dispirited for sure.
Yeah.
I was gonna say about the gun, like the click and click. A lot of times when Joker has that like flag come out, it's like a trick gun, and it actually the flag like shoots out after that, and like it does. So I'm not expecting it because I've read this plenty of times, but I'm like, okay, this is the one time his flag gun doesn't actually do anything.
Yeah.
That doesn't really make any sense to me. I think it kind of has to go with the storyline. Like, why would he have that? Like an actual gag joke that's not lethal. I don't know. It kind of, now that I think about it, it kind of doesn't really make much sense. But
and I mean, I know because we kind of talked about the art too. I think one of the things that may actually lead the reader to think that this Batman actually killed Joker. So if you go to that last page, look at the expression Batman makes when he's laughing and when he has like his hands on Joker. Like he looks like he looks like a man who's about to kill someone. Like,
I swear that's why every time I read this scene, I'm just convinced again. Like he kills him. Like yeah, like you're saying. Like look at his expressions.
he's
Like
making like
also
a
him
Joker
laughing.
smile. Yeah. Like,
Yes, him laughing is like almost like him like breaking. Like
Yeah.
it's like he's kind of losing it too. Like he's going crazy. And then like the laughing stops.
Yeah.
Like the laugh. Can you just imagine like in that third to last panel, the Joker, you see the Joker in Batman's feet and no more laughing.
Yeah.
What do you think happened? The Joker just stopped laughing and is just hanging out there? Like, I don't know. I think Batman put an end to the laughter.
Yeah.
It seems like to me.
Yeah. I mean, so I think we've now pretty much covered everything. I don't know if there's any.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I could theoretically talk about this book forever, but I think we've been talking for like probably like an hour by now. So I think we can probably wrap it up. But like literally, I could do a part 2 and 3 of this comic. I feel like there's so much.
If you wanted to go, and I assume I have an idea what your rating is going to be, but I'll ask still. What are you going to give it?
Oh yeah, this is one of those comics that deserves a 5-star from me.
That's a 5, yeah. I would. I honestly don't remember. I don't remember what I gave year 1. I would say that
you didn't give it. I don't think you gave it a 5-star. I remember you giving it like a 4.9 or something. I think. I'm not 100% on that, but I think so.
Okay, I'll give this a 4.9 then as well. I'll give it the same thing that I gave. Like
I think I might be wrong. Like you could have given it like a 4.8 or something. Regardless,
I'll say whatever I gave year 1. After rereading this, I'll say that it's the same tier. I think that it's too hard for me to, like. I still think I personally like year 1 more because I think I like that Batman. I like that Batman in that world a little bit more personally. But I think in terms of the craftsmanship, the artistry, and the impact of the story, I think that it would only be fair to put them on the same like level in terms of quality, regardless of personal feelings.
I think that's very fair.
I think that you can say that there are a few points that you could probably criticize, like the gun like misfiring.
Yes.
Weird Joker, not Joker, and but overall I think they're both amazing, and they're both high up they're on the pantheon of Batman comics.
100%. Oh, now I want to read more Batman classics, man. They're so good. We should at some point Long Halloween. I don't know if you consider Hush up there. Yeah, I don't think I've read that one actually.
I haven't either.
Maybe that's the one we should do.
Yeah. Well, I know for I'll let you get what we're going to be reading. So we are going to be taking a 1-week hiatus due to school, but after that week we will be back. And Alex, if you want to give what we're going to be reading.
Sure. We're going to be reading Volume 1 of Ex Machina by Brian K. Vaughan. So that would be issues number 1 through 5. And I believe it's called The First 100 Days.
Yeah. And so for those who don't know, Alex, Alex is the resident Brian K. Vaughan.
I enjoy his comics a lot. I don't know. I mean, I haven't read all of his stuff, and this is one of those that I haven't actually got around to yet. So I'm really excited because I love Vaughan. He's definitely one of my favorite writers and just creators in comics.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm definitely excited. I've read less of Vaughan, but I'm a big fan of what I have read, so I'm excited to get into that. And it should be a lot of fun.
Definitely.
Any closing words before we?
No, I mean, I'm so happy we read this. This is a great comic, Killing Joke, and I'm really excited for Ex Machina.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in 2 weeks.